Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk to you about natural childbirth. Back up on this, I'm not an expert. I've had 3 babies. I delivered one naturally, planned. The other 2 were delivered by induction, so epidurals, like heavily medicated labor and delivery. But the third time around, I decided to to plan a natural hospital delivery because of my symphysis pubis dysfunction, my SI joint dysfunction, and my pelvic floor dysfunction issues. So I had lots of damage already from my first 2 pregnancies. By the third, it was like really bad. I had 2 episiotomies by that time, and so I started seeing a pelvic floor specialty doctor and therapist, and they recommended that I deliver naturally and try to avoid delivering on my back, laying on my back. So I immediately contacted some ladies that I knew had been through natural childbirth, because when I heard that, it struck me with fear. I had already had 2 babies, like I said, so I knew what to expect, and I also knew that childbirth was really painful and couldn't imagine doing it without an epidural. So I talked to them. They told me their experiences, but they all told me to start reading and doing my research. And once I did that, I actually was like, why didn't I do this before my first baby? And I can remember, when I'm looking back on it now, I can remember being like, I'm not reading anything about childbirth. Like, this is scary enough. I don't want to know what's going to happen to me. I just want to show up and get it done. And I just expected, like, the doctor and the medical system to know what to do, and that was it. And I went into it with the mindset of, if I can do this without medicine, great, but if I can't, like, I'm not opposed to it. So I know that probably sounds familiar to some of you guys, and I wish I knew then what I know now. Because my third labor and delivery was so much better, even though I had complications at the end and needed a lot of repair work. I think that was kind of unrelated in a way. I think if I had had the first 2 naturally, I would have known what to expect this time, and I wouldn't have had the issues that I had probably. But anyways, I'll get into that in a different video. But what I liked was I did my research, so I felt in control the whole time. I didn't feel helpless. I liked that I could move around. I liked that I could express to Richard, like, what I needed. I was prepared for what my body was going through, so it wasn't scary at the time. I did have a minute where I was like, I can't do this. Like, I cannot finish this. Like, get me the epidural. And then I was right there. I was done. Like, which, when you start researching, that's super common. Like, right when you feel like you're not going to be able to get through it, you're at that last point, and you're transitioning and baby is coming. So that's kind of the experience I had. But I read some really great books that were recommended to me by other moms who had done their research as well. And like I said, I wish I would have done this before having our first baby, because it was just such a different experience. The books I read were Mind Over Labor, and that one is by Carl Jones. That's an older book, but it just kind of talked about, like, your mindset going into it, and that the American culture around birth is that it's something to fear. In other cultures, it's something that's taught to you. Like, as a teenage girl, you help with other people's deliveries, other people's babies. Your mom talks about it to you. Birth is not, like, so closed off. Where in America, births are in hospitals and they're very private, and so you don't have that generational learning. The other books that I read Natural Childbirth, the Bradley Way, and I think, especially if you've never delivered a baby before, that tells you a lot of the good, like, the science behind what your body's going through. The techniques that he gives, I didn't use as much when it came down to it, but it was good to read about. And so I really enjoyed that one, and that gave me a lot of knowledge going into it. And then my favorite books were Spiritual Midwifery and Ina May Gaskin's Guide to Childbirth. You can't see it because of the lighting. Sorry. It's really bright outside. Can you see it like this way a little, maybe? Anyways, I'm waiting for my camera to catch up. This was my favorite book, and I think the reason why is a big chunk of the book is birth stories from other moms. So you learn what your body's going through, but you also hear from mom after mom after mom of their successful experiences, and that really built my confidence. And there's kind of like a similar pattern that your body goes through to bring a baby into this world. So hearing like how all the stories were kind of different but the same, and what the moms felt mentally and experienced emotionally, that all really helped to get me excited and make me feel prepared. And so I had a natural hospital delivery with a doctor who's not really huge on natural deliveries, not something that he commonly does, I don't think. And if you decide to go that route, I had a really good relationship with my doctor going into it, so that's why I was able to make it work. But I think it's very important to find a doctor that is on board, because they will try to do things their way and do what they know. And so if you know a doctor that's more familiar with natural childbirth, or unmedicated, I shouldn't say natural, unmedicated childbirth, that is gonna work in your benefit. If you can stay out of the hospital setting, that's also awesome. If you could do like a birthing center, or I wish we could have done a home birth now, but we live too far from a hospital, and I think with some of the other issues I have, it wouldn't be the best choice for me. But home birth would be awesome if you're in an area that you can do that. And let's see here, what was the other thing I was going to say? Picking a practitioner and then going into it with the mindset that you're just going to do it, because I know even the nurses at the hospital, they weren't really on board with the idea of me delivering naturally, and I just kind of was like, this is what I'm doing, and they really didn't believe me. And after I delivered, they were all like, we're so proud of you. They said so many moms come in here and say they're going to deliver unmedicated, and they cave. Very rarely do they go all the way through with it. So which is the mindset I have been in with my previous 2 deliveries. There's no shame in that, but I think a lot of times it comes from lack of education about birth. So I'm going to list those books that I read below. Please shoot me any questions you have. I'll talk about my actual birth story in a separate video, but I just wanted to encourage moms, like, if you decide that you want an unmedicated labor, that you want to plan that, then plan it. Do your research, make your birth plan. It doesn't have to be some typed up crazy thing. I had a list of things that I liked, that I didn't like going into it. I never even pulled the list out. Like, I just kind of, Richard and I knew what I wanted. And so anyways, my little girl's waking up. I'm gonna go get her, but if you guys have any questions, please message me and I will be happy to help any way I can. Talk to you next time.